everyone, it's Magpie J, and recently I made this figure of Bowser to celebrate not only the Mario movie coming out, but also because I couldn't get the song Peaches out of my head. I wanted to show you guys the process of how I made this guy because it took a lot longer than my usual creations. Now for this figure, I actually used only one color of clay, which is this Super Sculpey, because I knew that I wanted to paint him after he was baked, and this kind of clay is good for larger creations. It was kind of hard to figure out where exactly I wanted to start on this figure, which is why these clips are kind of a bunch of random things. I had actually done the head before I started recording, but it was super similar to how I made the FNAF animatronics, weirdly enough, which I have other videos on. I kept saying, he kind of looks too much like Freddy as I was making it, but it turned out like Bowser, so it's okay. So here's where I start making his arms, and arms are a super weird shape. So what I do to get them just right is pile a bunch of little scraps of clay and then smooth it out until it looks like an elbow or a wrist, or in this case fingers or a palm of a hand. I ended up taking this figure to the Mario movie with me, but he wasn't quite finished yet, so if you look super closely in the clips later in the video, he actually doesn't have any eyes and isn't fully painted. A lot of this figure was just experimenting for me. I want to be able to make larger, more realistic figures as well as the tiny ones I normally make. If you guys have any characters that you want to see me make in the future, make sure to comment so I can also see those and hopefully do them as well. It was my first time using Super Sculpey, which was super fun. The only problem I have is that it's pretty heavy. I see a lot of other clay artists using Sculpey to make large figures, but it always looks a lot lighter than how mine turn out. I know that a lot of them use tinfoil or wire to help take some weight off of the clay, which is something I need to do more often in mine, but it's kind of one of the hardest things for me to figure out. I don't know why, and I always feel like it messes up the shape or doesn't go well for me, but clearly it works and clearly I should be doing it. Here's where I started making his shell, and again, this would be one of those places where I should be using tinfoil, but instead I just made mine hollow and so that it could bend over this already baked part of the body, and I measured before about how large it should be, and thankfully it fit onto the figure, and I think it looked pretty good. Then I used my ball tool to make some indents for where the spikes were going to go, and this was one of the most satisfying parts for me because I got to put all of these little triangles and they perfectly fit into those spots, and then I got to make them look like they were actually coming out of the shell, and I think that was one of the best parts of this sculpture just because they look pretty sharp to me. Like those spikes on his wristbands or whatever don't look nearly as good as the ones on his back do, in my opinion. Okay, so half of the reason I wanted to make this charm was so I was able to paint it, since normally I don't paint my figures, I just use a bunch of different kinds of clay, but the painting part is so satisfying to me. Like, I love watching sped up clips of me painting him. It's just, I don't know, speed painting, but not digital is so fun. So this layer of paint could be super messy because I was just going to paint the whole charm yellow so that it had a base coat, and it could just get on literally every part of him, which is why I'm not taking my time at all and I'm just putting it all over everything. Then I had to start painting the details like his stomach and the green on his shell. This is the part where I was supposed to be slightly more careful and not get it on anywhere that was supposed to be yellow. Clearly that didn't work and it just got over everything, but that's okay. Painted his hair red, and then we took a break and went to the actual movie. Nobody noticed that he didn't have eyes, except for me. And then I finished painting some of the details and moved on to these little scales to make him look more reptilian and Koopa-like. And I was finally finished painting him. Then I used a spray that I got at a D&D store to seal figures. I didn't have anything that was supposed to be for this big, but this worked. It was fun to spray him outside, and he had a little guy that sat with him too there. This is him completely done after he's painted and varnished and everything. I think he turned out pretty good for a first attempt at a larger figure, and this was a super fun process for me, and I got to watch Peaches at least 100 times while making this. It was basically on repeat. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make this figure and want to see more in the future. If so, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Thank you guys again so much for all of your support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!